So get to the Zapruder film if you would. I'm just going to kind of rehash this a little bit. Now, we mentioned that the only person that had a recording of the assassination was Abraham Zapruder, and after he captured that entire assassination on film, he was very shaken. He walked back to his office, and the way back to his office, he ran into a fellow by the name of Harry McCormick, who was a reporter for the Dallas Morning News, and Zapruder told McCormick about what he had just filmed, and he arranged to meet the reporter back at his office, which was, like I mentioned yesterday, was at the Dow Tex building. And before meeting Zapruder, McCormick informed a Secret Service agent by the name of Forrest Sorrells, who actually was in the lead car of the motorcade, about the film. And after Zapruder arrived back to his office, his business partner, Erwin Schwartz, called the office to visit about the news of the president's assassination. And Schwartz was told by the secretary who answered the phone that the police were in the office with shotguns looking for this film. And she continued to tell Schwartz that Zapruder had ordered her to lock the film in the office safe. So Schwartz then asked the secretary to put him through to Zapruder, who was in his office. Zapruder began to speak to his partner. He was crying, and he stated to Schwartz, "Oh, Erwin, it was terrible. I saw his head come off." Well, both Forrest Sorrells and Harry McCormick then come to Zapruder's office, and they retrieved that film from the safe, and the three men took the film to a nearby television station to be developed, only to find out that the television station could not develop the film. It had to be developed only by the Kodak Photo Company. And so, because of McCormick's connections with the media working for the Dallas Morning News, he did make arrangements with Kodak to develop the film. Once the film was developed and viewed, 3 copies were made. One went to the FBI, one went to the Secret Service, and Abraham Zapruder kept not only a copy, but the original. Okay? All right, that'll take us, well, we'll keep going here. That'll take us to Life Magazine's role. All of a sudden, Life Magazine is going to have a big say in this thing. Okay? Life Magazine. So write that subtopic down. Life Magazine's role. Life Magazine's role in the Zapruder film. Okay, after the film was developed, a representative from Life Magazine by the name of Richard Stoley viewed the film as well. Richard Stoley, who was a representative from Life Magazine, he was allowed to view the film as well. And what do you think he asked Zapruder after seeing the film? What did he want? He wanted to purchase it, right? Life Magazine wanted to purchase it. That would be a big deal in the media business. It would be the first magazine or publication that would have access to the Zapruder film. So after the film was developed, Richard Stoley, who was a representative from Life Magazine, viewed the film, and he asked Zapruder about the possibility to purchase it. Now, Zapruder was a very nice, honest man, and he felt since Stoley was the first person from the media to ask him about purchasing it, that he would give Life Magazine the first opportunity. Okay? Now, what are they going to negotiate here, do you think? For the film? Price. So, obviously, if Life doesn't come through with what he wants, then he'll move on to a different possibility. Now, the first offer that Stoley gave Zapruder for the film was $5,000. He offered him $5,000 for the film. And Zapruder knew it was worth way more than that, so obviously he declined. So his first offer, Stoley's first offer, was $5,000 for the film. Well, they kept negotiating, and finally the negotiations got up to $50,000, and Stoley didn't have the authority to grant that kind of money, so he had to call his superiors at the Life building in New York. So Stoley and Zapruder are going back and forth on how much this film's going to be worth, and when it gets up to $50,000, then Stoley had to call his superiors in New York to see if that was going to work. Now, at noon on Saturday the 23rd, day after the assassination, at noon on Saturday, November 23rd, Life Magazine bought, pay attention to this, the print rights to the Zapruder film for 2 payments of $25,000 each. So on the next day, on Saturday, November 23rd at noon, Life magazine bought the print rights to the Zapruder film for 2 payments of $25,000, $50,000 total. That means they only have the right to print pictures of the film. They don't have the right to print the motion picture part of it. Anybody see the video? Okay? So what they received as a right to that $50,000, they got the camera original and another copy of the film.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep. So, with the $50,000, Life magazine got the camera original film and another copy. Now, the original film was taken to Chicago because that's where the magazine was published. Their headquarters were in New York, but they published in Chicago. So the original was sent to Chicago. Where do you think the copy went? New York. Okay, so the original film was taken to Chicago, where Life magazine was published at that time, and the copy was sent to New York, which was actually the business headquarters of Life. Well, on Sunday, November 24th, C.D. Jackson, the publisher of Life magazine, watched the 26-second film. Okay? On Sunday, November 24th, C.D. Jackson, who was the publisher of Life magazine, watched it, the 26-second Zapruder film. On Sunday, November 24th, the publisher of Life magazine, C.D. Jackson, watched the 26-second film. Now this is kind of an interesting story. His viewpoint of the film was probably similar to yours when you saw it. Your first reaction is, oh God. Well, Jackson, back at that time, decided in his mind that the American public was not ready to see that. Okay, matter of fact, the film was not shown on television, believe it or not, till 1975. And the reason is because Jackson thought the only way he could protect people from seeing that was to buy the motion picture rights. Okay, so he isn't gonna print. He's gonna print sections from the film in Life magazine, but he doesn't want the American people to see what you saw yesterday, and so he then tries to buy the motion picture rights. And again, this film was not seen by the American public until 1975. That's quite a few years after the assassination. And the reason is because who owned it? Well, who's going to own it? We'll tell you the story. Life magazine's going to own the motion picture rights, and they're not going to let anybody see it. So Jackson, the publisher, told Stoley to find out what Zapruder would want for the motion picture rights as well. Okay? He instructed Stoley to negotiate the motion picture rights. So that evening, the evening of November 24th, after C.D. Jackson saw the film, Stoley and Zapruder met again to negotiate the motion picture rights. And those two met and finalized that Monday morning, the 25th. So Monday morning, November 25th, they made a deal. Now, he already got 2 payments of $25,000 for the what? Print rights. Guess how much he got for basically what they negotiated wasn't so much the motion picture rights, they just negotiated all rights, no matter what. So they already had the picture rights, right? Now they wanted the motion picture rights. Guess how much Zapruder got in addition to the $50,000 for the motion picture rights? This is in 1963. $100,000. So we ended up with $150,000 for this picture, which I would guess would be probably $500,000 or more in today's currency. Maybe more. Maybe $1 million. Yeah, maybe $1 million. So he got a ton of money, so to speak, for that time for the rights to that film. So that is what happened. Now, you're going to have two different tests on two different days. One test will be on this material, basically what we've talked about, from the death of Patrick Kennedy to now. Okay? Now I'm going to give you another subtopic sheet, and we're going to talk about post-assassination, what's happened after the assassination, and that'll be for another test, okay? And don't worry, it'll work out. So here's your new subtopic sheet. Now, we'll forewarn you, there are a million names on this, and it will be a matching test without doubt on this part, the post-assassination. So you really need to pay attention and know who these people are. Be very important when you take this test. So what our plan is to get to the post-assassination, and then when we come back from Christmas, we'll start talking about the interrogation of Lee Harvey Oswald. An odd story, which is an incredible story in itself. So this is your new subtopic here. And it's basically the overall topic is the Kennedy assassination. We're talking about post-assassination. Did I give you enough of these, or a short one? Everybody have one? Okay, we're going to talk about events in Daley Plaza right after the assassination, the route of Lee Harvey Oswald from Daley Plaza. We'll go back to Parkland Hospital and tell you what happened after the president was pronounced dead and how his body got back to Washington, D.C. Okay? So, the first subtopic is events in Daley Plaza. These are things that happened after the assassination. So, as the presidential limousine is racing 77 blocks to Parkland, this is what's happening back in Daley Plaza. Now, make sure you get these names, kids, because they're important. Okay, within just minutes of the assassination, police surrounded the Texas School Book Depository because they believed that's where the shots came from witnesses. So within minutes of the 3 shots that were fired on Elm Street in Daley Plaza, within minutes, Dallas police surrounded that Texas School Book Depository. Surrounded it, locked it down. And what did they do once they locked it down? They started to search. And on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, Dallas Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney discovered a sniper's post. So as the police surround the Texas School Book Depository, minutes after the assassination, because that's where they believe the shots came from, on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, Dallas Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney discovered a sniper's post. And it was in the southeast corner of the 6th floor of the depository. Southeast corner of the 6th floor of the depository. So on the 6th floor, Dallas Deputy Sheriff Luke Mooney discovered a sniper's post at a window on the southeast corner of the depository. Now, what do you mean a sniper's post? What happened is Mooney discovered several cartons of books. Remember, it was a school book depository that were stacked up by the window so a rifle could be rested over the books with another box where somebody was sitting. So he found what he considered a sniper's post. It was very unusual. They weren't boxed up and stacked like they should be. It was boxed up as if someone had put a rifle out there and rested it. Now, one of the cartons that were used for the rest actually had a half-eaten piece of chicken on it. So as they look at these boxes, and obviously the shooter had his gun rested on, there was a half-eaten piece of chicken. So the guy was actually eating a piece of chicken while he was doing this, and left it there. Okay? Now remember, it was kind of lunchtime, right? Because it's 12:30. So all these guys are on a lunch break at the Texas School Book Depository. Now the sniper's post was about 88 yards from where the presidential limousine was when the president was hit. 88 yards, not very far, really, when you think about it. And of course it was at an up elevated area down to the street. But about 88 yards from where that sniper's post was to where the limousine was when Kennedy was hit. Guess what else he found by the stack of boxes? 3 spent shell casings. 3 spent shell casings. So by the boxes where the sniper's nest was, he found a half-eaten piece of chicken on the box, and on the floor, 3 spent shell casings. For those of you maybe that aren't hunters, these are what spent shell casings are right there. That's actually spent shell casings from that particular caliber of bullet. Okay? Now, at 12:58 p.m., we're talking about November 22nd, at 12:58 p.m., Dallas Police Captain John Will Fritz arrived at the Texas School Book Depository. At 12:58 p.m., Dallas Police Captain John Will Fritz arrived at the Texas School Book Depository. You'll hear a lot about Will Fritz throughout the next many weeks. So at 12:58 p.m., Dallas Police Captain John Will Fritz arrived at the Texas School Book Depository. Well, when he arrived, Mooney advised both Captain Will Fritz and member Sheriff Bill Decker that was in the lead car of the limousine. Both those guys had arrived at the Texas School Book Depository, both Will Fritz and Bill Decker. And again, Bill Decker was the sheriff. He was in the lead car. And Mooney told those two men, he told both Decker and Fritz, that he had located the area where the shots had been fired from. Okay? So Mooney gets together with both Will Fritz and Sheriff Bill Decker, and he lets them know that he found out where the shots were fired. Well, at 1:22 p.m., across the room, away from the southeast corner, but on the same level, another police officer by the name of Eugene Boone found a rifle. So the rifle wasn't where the sniper's point was. They found it in between some boxes across the room on the 6th floor. So at 1:22 p.m. across the room, stacked in between some boxes, police officer Eugene Boone found a rifle. The rifle was a 6.5 millimeter Mannlicher Carcano, which is on your ID sheet. It was an Italian rifle used in World War II. So Eugene Boone, searching the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, across from where the sniper's nest was, found a rifle. It was a 6.5 caliber Mannlicher Carcano, serial number C22766, with a 4-power scope, which was recovered from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. This is what he found. Now, we got something on the back you'll need later, so keep that in mind. So the rifle was found. After this rifle was found, another police lieutenant by the name of J.C. Day was summoned to the 6th floor. So Mooney advises Decker and Fritz that he found the sniper's post. At 1:22 p.m., police officer Eugene Boone found a rifle across the room. And after the rifle was found, Police Lieutenant J.C. Day was asked to come up to the 6th floor. And when Lieutenant Day arrived on the 6th floor, he did these 3 things. So when Lieutenant J.C. Day arrived on the 6th floor, he did these 3 things. First of all, he photographed the rifle, took a picture of the rifle. Second thing he did is he noted the serial number. You don't have to write that down because it's on your sheet. It was C22766. I have 2 of these rifles, and I'll bring them in and show them to you. They all have serial numbers on them. Okay? And the serial number was noted by J.C. Day. And the third thing he did, which you might find unusual but was standard police procedure for marking evidence at the time, is he scratched his name on the stock. That told him that he was the one that took the photograph and noted the serial number. Okay, so J.C. Day scratched his name on the stock of the rifle. That was standard police procedure for marking evidence at the time. So when Lieutenant Day arrived on the 6th floor of the depository, he, number 1, photographed the rifle. Number 2, he noted its serial number. And number 3, he scratched his name on the stock. Okay? So, now, if you were the Dallas police, what would be your next move? You're surrounded the school book depository. Search it for what? People. And what would you really be interested in? The people that were not there. Right? So they lock the building down and they take roll. They want to see if all the employees are there. So they take roll, an inventory of the employees that worked at the Texas School Book Depository, and only one was missing. One employee was missing after they took roll. So they got there within minutes of the assassination and they locked that building down. All these things occurred that I'm telling you about. And then they took roll to see if any of the employees were missing. And there was one missing. An employee by the name of Lee Harvey Oswald. He was the only employee missing. So once you find out that Lee Harvey Oswald is missing, what would you want immediately after that? What? Well, but to find him, you got to know what? Well, even before that, if you're going to send an all-points bulletin out to try to find this guy, you need to know what he looks like. Okay? So what they did is they obtained a description of the shooter, and the person that gave them the description was